Hello, everyone. Hola, mundo. Welcome to Voces Poderosas 2025, where Latino brilliance takes center stage. Hello, I'm Jackie Bouvier, honored to continue the movement, to continue celebrating the nation's most powerful voices of influence, shining the light on that leadership of just powerful cultural business and people that are leading our future in this country. Voces Poderosas is a transformative shortcast spotlighting pioneers, catalysts whose wisdom fuels success and personal empowerment. More than a podcast, we are a shortcast. We are such a shortcast that is just nationally renowned and it's become a movement. We're just providing a light, a stage for Latino excellence, amplifying the voices that move all of our nation, our markets that shape our culture and define our time. So I am honored to be able to be your shortcast host and welcome you to Voces Poderosas today. Today, I'm excited. I just can't hide it because today we have the distinct honor of shining that spotlight on a trailblazer Latina leader Patricia Barela Rivera. Woo! And we know her as PBR and love her. Born in Corrales, New Mexico, Patricia has built a legacy, you guys. She is a fierce Latina advocate for workplace equity, diversity, and community empowerment. She made history as the first Latina district director for the U.S. Small Business Administration. Leading her office to support thousands of small business loans and billions in funding. Beyond that role, she founded her own consulting practice, PBR Solutions, and has championed numerous organizations that uplift Hispanic women leadership and advocacy. Patricia's recognition includes induction into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame. She is just phenomenal, you guys, among many other honors that she's just distinctly achieved. Join us as we dive into her journey, her challenges, her triumphs, and her vision for empowering the voices of this nation. PBR, bienvenida. Welcome to Voces Poderosas.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hello.
You're the best. I truly admire you, and I can't wait for everyone to listen in and just hear your journey, your story. Why don't you tell us your story? Tell us about yourself.
Well, very quickly, thank you, my darling. You know how much I adore you, and you're doing so many great things for our Latinas. That's what I love. So I have to thank you, first of all. You're fabulous, and you know I
Thank
love you. I started out, I was born and raised in Corrales, New Mexico, which is outside of Albuquerque, a little country town. And then mom and dad, we had a small ranch and we had cattle and horses, and I'm an only child. And dad taught me to be really tough. I mean, I drove tractors, baled hay, would fall into mud up to my neck. Dad taught me my work ethic, and my mother taught me how to be a feminine woman. So I had the best of both worlds. Mother, I know piano lessons, dance lessons, and we were just a middle class family. But mother and dad were just, my heart and soul. I miss them so much. And anyway, that's the foundation. And we were so proud of who we were as Americans and as a Latino Hispanic community, belonging to the community, family. And I got to tell you, that was my foundation. And then I worked at a university. I started out as a secretary and did that, and then moved on and up. I kept going up the career ladder, went to a university and became an administrative assistant for 17 Indian pueblos in New Mexico for Head Start. Then from there, I went to the University of Albuquerque and I became a admissions counselor who recruited minority students into the college. And I traveled all over the country, and then landed up being the career and placement director at that university, helping students get jobs. And that's when it started, when a recruiter came in from the Department of Agriculture. I'll never, Midardo Sanchez, I will never forget him. He says, Patricia, he says, I want to recruit you, not just the students, but we need more Hispanics in the Department of Agriculture and the Forest Service. I says, okay, sounds good. I applied, sent out about 271 applications. Didn't realize I could only do one and just copy it. And I got a job in Pocatello, Idaho. I left
Oh,
home.
wow.
I left home for the first time. And of course, I went to the University of New Mexico and went to Pocatello, Idaho. Left my son. I got married, and when I met this guy in college, and I was only married 8 months, and it didn't work. And I thought, you know what? I got out of it. I was smart. And then I got offered this job, went to Idaho. My son stayed with mom and dad. Thank God for them. And that's when my career started with the U.S. Forest Service. And I was the administrative officer for three divisions, contracting, personnel, and I can't think what the other one was. But anyway, so that's where it started, was in Idaho. I had to move there. I was there a year to the day, and then I got transferred to Pueblo because I wanted to be
Oh,
closer to my family. I was in Pueblo and for the Forest Service, and my career started going up, up, up. And then they transferred me because I was doing such a great job of recruiting minority students to work in the Forest Service. I was traveling all over the country, locating engineers, hydrologists, range cons, you name it. And I was doing really good. And then they transferred me to Denver. And so I worked for the Forest Service for 6 years. Then I got, then I applied for another job with the Office of Personnel Management and became a management leadership trainer. And started doing it for all federal agencies. And I got it. That's what started happening. And I was being heard and seen all over the country in terms
wow.
of doing leadership development for minorities, for women and men. And I mean, I was giving keynote addresses all over the country and doing workshops. And I was doing 28 different workshops. I do 28 different subjects. You talk about having to read and learn, but I did it. So then I was there another 6 years. So then one day all the men were getting promotions and all the women trainers weren't. And you know what? Out of anger, I quit. I quit just like that, cold turkey. And I started my own business. And it was not easy because when I quit, my car blew up on me on over here on Sheridan and the freeway. My home that I was living in, they wanted to turn my apartment into a condo, so I had to leave that. And then I was having problems with one of my feet, one of my yeah, my problems, and it was a mess. But you know what? I got through it. I'll never forget my first training that I did for the Indian Health Service in Aberdeen. Is it North Dakota or South Dakota? Can't remember right now. I they had to put me in a wheelchair because I had hurt my back putting all my training material in my car to go to the airport.
Wow.
And they had to put me in a wheelchair to get on the plane because I couldn't move my back. When I got to Aberdeen, they had to take me off with a wheelchair. They had to drive me to that place, and I gave a seminar for 3 days, sitting in a with a. They took me to the emergency room, sitting with a brace around my body.
Oh my gosh.
My first consulting job, and I did it. I mean, people don't know this. I don't tell people this stuff. But it was hard. But and then from there, my career just kept going. Landed up with my own business and started giving speeches all over the country. I mean, I'll never forget Coretta Scott King. She would give a speech for breakfast, and I was the keynoter at lunch. And it's just started. And then I landed up on a program on TV, and you wouldn't remember. I don't know, you might not remember this, but Phil Donahue had his own talk show. And that was a national show. They asked me to be on the Phil Donahue show because of all the work I was doing for people of color on leadership.
Oh,
And they wanted to really learn all the racism and all the things that we've gone through getting to where we're at. I mean, my career kept going up, up, up. And then after that, I was at a birthday party for a friend, and Ken Salazar came up to me at that party. He says, "Hey, PBR." And, Ken Salazar was he was our state senator
Mhm.
and what really well known. And he was also a presidential appointee I think it was under Obama. Anyway, he said that they wanted a woman who had background in small business to work for the governor. And I says, "Oh, I'm not interested. I'm fine." He says, "Well, they kept calling me and calling me. I interviewed, and the governor hired me, and I was the deputy director for the Department of Local Affairs, where I traveled all 64 counties, and I also helped the governor in terms of relationships with the minority and women's community. I was his right-hand person." And I got to tell you, and then it was time for me to leave because when you're appointed, you're only appointed for a certain amount of time. I was with the governor for 6 years, Governor Roy Romer, and he was great to work for. And I was getting ready to try out for a new job. I'm sitting at a coffee shop on a Saturday, and this guy walks up to me that I've known for years, and it's all about relationships. He said, "Patricia," he says, "the SBA is looking for a director for Colorado. And are you interested?" I says, "No, I'm not interested." I says, "But why don't you send me fax me the information?" And he did on that month. I was there on a Saturday. On Monday, I get a fax and I looked at it and I said, "This is my job." You know what, honey? It took me 18 hours to fill out that application
Wow.
because I researched it like there was no tomorrow. And I got the job. 300 applicants. 300, my dear. They honed it down from 50 to 10 to 3, and it was me and two men. And I got the job.
Yay!
I had something like 6 interviews.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. They vetted me like you wouldn't believe. And I can always remember, I have it right here on my office. The head of the SBA at that time, Mr. Later, called me at Christmas at my mom and dad's house in New Mexico, and he offered me the job.
Oh,
Phil
what a
Later
great
is his
kid.
name. Got the job, and I was there for 11 years. I was the first Latina in the country to be an SBA director, and it was not easy because the men did not want to see a woman, more than anything, a Latina. And my office landed up becoming one of the top offices out of 70 offices in the country. We were the top 5 offices that did the most for the community on
Wow.
loans, on counseling for small business. I mean, honey, I was going to 2 and 3 events a night. I worked it. I worked it. And it was not easy, but I did it. And that basically, and then I retired in '08. And here we are. And I started another small business, consulting business, but you know, I dabble here and there. But that's basically it.
That that's phenomenal. That's the reason why people like myself look up to you, admire you. Your story has I am holding back tears. You have just inspired me like you have no idea, and I can't wait to hear how many others you'll inspire. And thanks for sharing that because I know not a lot of people share their stories all the time,
No,
specifically in that timeline. And I
no,
think that's the most impactful piece for somebody to hear because sometimes we get stuck in positions and we don't take
right.
that risk. You took that risk.
I took the risk. I mean, of course, I wanted to raise my own son, but I thought, and I had no other income coming in because when I got divorced, I mean, I had nothing. And I said, "No, I've got to do this for my son and I." And let me tell you, it's the best thing I could have ever. I took a huge risk. I left home for the first time. And that's what
Yeah.
we have to do. We have to take risks.
And I love that. Thanks for saying that because we're so afraid as female Latinas,
Yeah,
just get stuck in our little corporations,
yeah,
corporate, get sometimes don't know what's happening or why we're not getting promoted or we're not but being overlooked. And so the fact that you've taken these risks and that they've gotten you to where you are, and you are such an amazing leader.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for taking those risks. And more
Absolutely.
importantly, thank you for helping our community because
And I got
that's
to
really
tell you
what you've been
something
doing.
fascinating. The time that I was doing all that, I was probably like one of very few Latinas that were doing keynote addresses and workshops.
Oh, wow.
There weren't any of us out there.
Wow.
So I took a hold of it and I said, you know what? I have this passion and I have this purpose and I'm
Hmm.
going to do it to help our community. And it
I
worked.
love it. Purpose driven, knowing your why you do it, and
Yeah,
understanding that that's it. That's who
that's
you
it.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much for sharing your story. I'd love to hear what advice you would give the younger generation listening to us.
There's so many things. I do a workshop called Winning Skills for Success, and I talk about 40 success techniques of my own. And a lot of it is, taking risks, being assertive, not aggressive, being assertive, listening, listen, be proud of who you are.
Mm,
Be proud of that we are Latinos, Latinas, Chicanas, whatever. Be proud of who we are. And don't be angry.
mm,
Don't be angry because anger is not good for us for our hearts or not even out in the community. And like I always say, there's a will, there's a way. And I always tell our young Latinos and Latinas when I'm giving workshops, dígame quién son tus amigos y te digo quién eres. Tell me who
mm-hmm.
your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are.
Yes.
Look at your friendships. Look who you surround yourself with, and be attentive to everything. Take responsibility. When you say you're going to do something, doggone it, do it. And
That's a
don't
good
be
one.
lazy about it. And you know, there's an elegance about us that we have a lot going in our community. And I always tell women, I says, look at the way you dress. They say the first 30 seconds someone has met you, they have judged you. And it's true.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of places that if you're in the work environment, you're not there for a fashion show. You are there to be taken seriously.
I agree. 100%.
And you need to read every newspaper there is. You need to educate yourself. And also be playful. I mean, we also need to have fun,
Mm,
with our friends. And we have to live with intention. Does that
mm,
make sense? We have to
yes.
live with intention. And we have to listen hard. We have to practice wellness. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
The other thing is that we also need to really appreciate and be grateful for what we have. And we need to appreciate our friends and our
Mm,
families. Because I know there's a lot of discord nowadays in this country, and some of us feel helpless and we're out of control. I say the world's turned upside down, and it is, because I never thought at my age I would see this, but it's happening. And what we have to do is just take a deep breath and say, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. When it'll happen. But also to be very careful. And I stand up when I'm in a meeting and I make sure I've been on probably 70, 80, 90 boards and commissions.
wow.
Yeah. And I've started several organizations for Latinas. President of
Mm.
LULAC for women, started a group called Nasty Women because the president called Hillary Clinton nasty woman. Remember that? I don't know if you remember. And they're all progressive women who want to do right in the community. Also, the other thing too is we have to continue to learn. We have to continue to learn, and we have to do things that we love doing.
Mhm.
And if you're in a job that you feel really not good about, and you feel you're in a box, you know what? You need to leave and find what makes you happy because it'll work, but you've got to be attentive to it.
Wow.
Does that make sense, honey?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And again, we have to live like today could be the last day that we live. We don't know. So we have to really empower ourselves, really, and get away from stressful people.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from stressful, and it's within our family. I understand that, but you know what? Take a deep breath and let it go past you. Don't keep taking the hits. Because I'm going to tell you something very interesting. A lot of people don't know this. After I retired from my job at SBA, I landed in and out of the hospital for 4 years because my problem is I'm a perfectionist. And I got to tell you, I had a very hard job and I took it to heart. And I wish I'd have been smarter about saying, just relax. And I didn't have any mentors, no mentors. I remember calling a Latina who's very prominent. I called her and she's on several boards and I says, could you guide me? And, and she says, I don't have time right now. And people know her in the community. She's well known.
Wow.
And I will never forget that.
Wow.
And other women, but I didn't have a mentor. I probably had more male mentors who took me under their wing. I did. And they weren't Latinos.
Wow.
And that's why I have stopped to think, all right, Patricia, if people call you, that's why I try my darndest to be there when someone says, I really want to talk to you. How did you do this? I says, give me, and I'll have coffee with you, with people, no matter what. I try my darndest. So again, we can do a lot. We really can. And it's like taking risks. It's like, again, I said you have to be driven by passion and by purpose. And also be good souls, be kind, be sharing. Because when one of us succeed, we all succeed together.
Yes.
And the problem with some of our community is we're envious of each other. Because they may have a nicer car or they have nicer clothes or they have a beautiful face or beautiful hair like you or, you know, I'm serious or whatever. We got to let go of that envidia, that
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, because the jealousy is killing our community. And that's
Yes.
why we don't progress because we're not there to support each other. We're there to tear each other down. And we've got to stop it.
Yes.
But we're getting a little better, a little bit better.
I agree. I agree. Part of the questions that I had you answered your journey, how your Latinidad aligns and the alignment that you talk about, looking ahead, the wisdom you provide to others. All of your advice is just absolutely wonderful and what an honor. I mean this from the bottom of my heart and I think we often oversee the great potential, the great opportunity that we have from people such as yourself, PBR,
Yes.
who have been there, done it, and have stories to tell. And we learn so much from it. And I think that's the most powerful wisdom we can ever acquire from this life is your journey. And so not only for that, but to admire and see how amazing you have been and that we can do it too, and that we're still a big familia that is supporting each other. And so just listening to your advice is so positive. It's something that I think we should all take with us is the honor of positivity that comes and it just comes out of your pores, and just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for your wisdom today, your fearless commitment to uplifting our community to shine and continue to shine like a beacon for all of us, inspiring us, me personally, inspiring me. And I love the comunidad. I love everybody. And I've been serving my community since 1997, I think. And as a little girl and on the streets of Denver and sometimes it just isn't you. It's what you've been called to do. And the quicker you realize the alignment that comes with who you are, the faster you start to reach your full potential and your purpose. And so I feel like listening to your journey has given me that opportunity to look back and think, wow, what a powerful woman you are. Thank you for your extraordinary example, PBR, and for reminding us that this is what true leadership looks like. And it's
Well, I
you.
hope so. You know, like we say in New Mexico, una mano se lava la otra. One hand washes the other. And, you know, we have to be there for each other, especially now more than ever. And, you know,
Yes.
you're a young and upcoming woman. You're smart, you know, you're assertive, you're passionate, and keep that up. Keep that
Thank
up
you.
and keep letting that out to the community, you know,
Thank
and
you.
keeping, you know, ingratiating other young women to really look at how important they are. And we're all very powerful.
Yeah.
It's just that we've got to realize that we are.
Yes. I agree 100%. Well, I'm taking this back with me. I'm never going to give up because of what you've told me and the words you've shared with me. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being on Voces Poderosas.
Thank you, my darling. I love you. You keep doing good things. You're the
You
best.
too. Thank you.